I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut this out. I'm just here a little early. I got that, ADHD, just hyper squirrel, squirrel. So I've been thinking about doing this for you guys. And so like I said, I'm going to make this little clip. I'm going to make a little intro. I guess I'll probably separate it at some point. Well, I can't. It's alive. I can't do that. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to give it to you, and I'm going to have to do it another way sometime. All right. So what I'm doing is welcome. Oh, make sure. Let me know if my audio is good. Give me a thumb up. So what I wanted to tell you guys, this is what I've had guys ask me. What do you carry? What do you carry on your personal belongings? And I think these are a must-have. Ever since I've become a more mature man, I'm just going to tell you that I carry, so this is the stuff I carry on me. I carry the Milwaukee. Tristan, thank you. Audio's good. So I like carrying the Milwaukee. I don't know which model it is, if it's got a model. This is a 48-22-1502. It tells you to wear eye protection. So I like using this because I like to score my weather seal, and I'm lazy. I got another one I really like. For certain jobs I'll use it, but the one I can resharpen the blade myself, which it just takes a lot of time. So it's just nice to have the old throwaway. And what I love about this is when you're out in the field, it never fails. When you're out in the field, you need extra. So I got my little holster there. It's got some extra ones in it. That's a lifesaver because we break this off, whatever. It's too bad it's not like auto. I like the clip because I keep it on my pocket. Next, don't worry. Don't get too excited here. I'm not stripping down, show you anything. I carry this Leatherman. I don't remember where I got this Leatherman. It's rough. It's really rough. This one, it seems like this one's almost kind of a vintage Leatherman. But I can't tell you, with my older age, how convenient this thing is. I've had these pliers. You're up on a ladder. They'll save you. I've had that. I've had where I didn't have a little screwdriver, and this little guy right here for like apex and doing, wires. I mean, that little screwdriver right there has saved me a million times that I don't have something on the van to have the pliers. I think that's really about all I have used the file to clean off corrosion, but just a nice little Leatherman, whatever works. They got bigger ones. I've always liked this one because it's kind of slim. I just liked it. It didn't take up a lot. It doesn't hit the seat belt because I keep it on my right side. So bam, a Leatherman. Next, I always like carrying a belt. I've actually used my belt for a makeshift. I know a real tourniquet, you got to put a severe amount of pressure on it to make it actually accurate and work. But when I cut my leg open, my knee, if you've been around for that long, I use this to actually put around my leg to put pressure on it to help it somewhat stop bleeding. But to be honest, to sit there and to chew on that when I was in the hospital was priceless. It was, I remember I went to the next hospital, I had to go to the next one to do surgery, and they're like, you should probably take that belt off so they think we did something. I'm like, I'm not taking this belt off until you give me some drugs or knock me out. So belt, I don't think I've really used it for anything else except hold my britches up. It works good for that. Another important thing, flashlight. I've always liked these little ones. I think I used to get them at Home Depot or something like that. It's got the little, pouch there. This thing just kind of slips right in there. Nothing too fancy. I like the button on the bottom. Seems like it get activated once in a while, but nothing. This one's what is this? Costa or whatever? Nothing too fancy. That's just what I like to carry. What else? Got the old wallet. Always keep cash on you, you young bucks. I know that's the thing I just heard from my nephew. He told me, he said he went somewhere and he said that they ended up, the credit cards or the machine was down, and he was like, pushed him in the face, was like, get out of the way, fools. Like, I got cash. I'm gonna get what I want. I think he was buying food. I think he was at a restaurant. I've had it happen just not too long ago. A couple of weeks ago, I went to a restaurant, and as soon as I pull up, the lady, what did she said it backwards. She goes, we don't accept cash. And I was like, whoa, what? And I'm sorry. She goes, our credit card, we don't accept credit cards right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's all good. And it was amazing to me behind me how many people are peeling off. And I'm thinking, you got to carry, I would say nowadays, you really should have about $100, $150 on you. Only reason, you break down, tow truck, you need gas, cash is king, cash is simple. Another thing I keep on here, on me, is I keep a Sharpie. These just are, you got to write on man doors, you got to write label stuff, you got to write, we do the stickers, you know, for when we label our doors. That's right, cash is king. I also keep a pencil. I don't know why. Ever since I've kind of done rentals, I've always kept this on me. More construction, I don't know. It's just, pencils are nice because you can wipe them off. You can erase them. They're reliable. Sometimes the marker, if it's wet out, it just won't mark anymore. So the pencil. So these are the two things I always carry in my pocket. Another thing, which is nothing, it's just more personal. I got this from my mom. It says success. I keep a couple pain pills in there if something gets crazy for the day. I really don't need it too much. It's just there for if I'm having a really bad day. Another thing, a lot of people want to make sure I didn't say nothing bad. I just bought this at the gas station a while back ago. This is just, I like these kind of lighters that actually do they're actually a blowtorch and not one that blows out on you. I've had these for up here in Michigan, wintertime. You got to heat up a padlock. You're trying to unlock a tool crib, a customer's cabinet, just all kinds of things I've had. So I've always, and I actually carry I don't have it on me, but in the wintertime I will start carrying a bigger one too that fits in your hand, that's a longer. But this one right here, just, you got to do the end of a rope. You got to cinch it, whatever. Just a nice little lighter. I think that's about all I carry in my pockets. Besides the cell phone, I used to, and I keep my wallet up front. A lot of guys talk about how it can hurt your back and stuff like that being in your back pocket. So I keep it up front. It's a little bit safer too that way. If somebody's standing behind you, maybe they don't slip it out of your pocket or whatever. I've been carrying it more now in the front pocket for the past couple of years. So it's just something that might help you. It's a story of my life. All I got is 2 pennies to rub together. That's really all I got. It's actually because I was taking down a little fly trap thing I had built. I had a couple pennies in it. So, you got to use the washroom on the job. I don't. We've talked about this. We have talked about this. I don't use the washroom. I typically really don't try to if I don't have to. There's that story, I remember a guy, I think the customer was gone. I'm gonna try to plop a seat here if I can adjust this camera correctly. So there's that guy, if you guys remember, that he ended up, was working with another guy, another employee, and he ended up, they were at the job, the customer wasn't home. I think the customer was there to let him in the door. And they ended up, all of a sudden he's with them. And this guy was always he was just always a little weird. I don't know how to explain it. He looked like Casper the Ghost. He was a white dude, let's just say. And so anyways, I remember he goes, he's telling the other guy, he goes, hey man, he goes, all of a sudden he's like, I gotta go. He's like, oh, okay. He goes, so he like books it out of the garage, He runs out, well, they're next to a cornfield. And come to find out, he ends up coming back, So the guy that's, still working in the garage door is like, hey man, you doing all right? You feel better? He goes, head down, just kind of tail tucked between his legs. He kind of, I didn't make it. So, it was one of those things, I've told the story before, but it's one of those things where they came back and all of a sudden I came back from a job, and all of a sudden I seen this truck was gone or car or whatever he was driving. And I'm like, hey, where'd what's his name go? And the secretary's like, oh, he went home. And I'm like, went home? Like what? Family emergency? What's going on? And come to find out, she goes, well, he had a little bathroom incident, and the guy that was working with him told me, and he goes, buddy, I made sure I put some cardboard down for him before he sat in the seat. And I said, he goes, but the ride home, man. Oh, and I'm sitting there just, oh man. So he was a little embarrassed, which is totally understandable. But yeah, the washroom, we try not to use the customers. At least I do. I think some of the guys will if they really need to, emergency. Typically, I've tried to always keep an emergency bucket kind of on the vehicle because I tell you what, when the cough syndrome was going around, the Feng Fu China Wang Wing thing was going on, whatever they call it. I can't say it. You know what it is. It starts with a C. But when it was going on, I remember, I was thinking about that whole thing about that lady I seen. Like I said, I've said it before. I think it was Amazon or it was UPS or FedEx. And there was some lady and they're like, how disgusting this person is, and they showed them at the end of a road and they're defecating, right? They're like outside their door with their pants down, leaning up against their truck and they're doing the business, right? And I'm thinking, oh, that's gross. Why would, well, it happened to me almost because when the cough syndrome's going on, everything's closed, right? You can't go in anywhere. Everything's on lockdown. Everybody's got the old diapers on the face, everything. And I remember I'm cruising down the road and all of a sudden, goes on in the stomach there. And I'm like, holy cow, I need to go. Like, I mean, it felt like a nuclear bomb went off and I was going to pop. Like I was that bad. And I remember I'm driving down the road and I'm doing like oh my gosh, where do I go? And I'm looking for a Porta-John anywhere. And I couldn't find one. And finally I got to the point, like I'm slowing down, like I'm in a city area and I'm like, who's gonna be the unlucky driveway? You know what I mean? Because the britches are coming down. Like I am not going in this van. I am not going all over the seat in my pants. It's going outside at least. And needlessly, it calmed down enough, and I booked it, I think, back to the shop, and I made it just in time service. But it was bad. So I kind of learned from then. What I started doing is I'd carry a bucket, and then I bought a nice lid on it. So because you ever sit on a bucket, your cheeks start hurting pretty quick. And it worked out good because I was at a customer not too long ago, and they ended up. I remember it was summertime, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden it's like it's a summer home on Lake Michigan. I can't go in the house, and they got cameras everywhere, so I'm not even like gonna go attempt to try to like pull on the door and gotta get in your house. What were you doing at my house? Well, I was trying to break in. Use the bathroom. So I remember I went in the van, right? Because I went off to the side of the woods and I'm like standing there kind of doing like the search, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, crap, there's a multi-million-dollar house up over there. And they got cameras too. And I'm like, all right, I'll walk over to the other side. Oh, geez, there's another house right there. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to have, a wife, a husband might laugh, or maybe not, but a wife or kids or something, like you imagine some grown man, like, in the woods. Like, so I'm like, man, I'm not driving. It's 20 minutes like into town from where I'm at on Lake Michigan. It's there's nothing around. So I'm do my business, man. I got to do my business. So I had a couple things. Oh, to bring them in. I wanted to address before we hit the old 8 o'clock. Garage Door Guy 67. Hello. Good to see you. So I got this guy. From what I understand, it's Sean. Sean, I appreciate you. You're a good dude. I've watched a couple of your videos, and I think you're out there I don't know what country you're in, but you're in a different country. And I don't know if this is the same, Sean, this is you or not, but I seen that you messaged or emailed me. So I was going to share a couple of these pictures and whatnot. But I think, Sean, you were also talking to me about some high-speed roll-up doors. But anyways, let's one thing at a time, shall we? And if you guys can always email me. You got questions, I love them. Just try not to go through like the business, whatever. Like always just go through whatever's in the description. Don't call the number, please, because obviously they're busy. They got a million other things on their mind versus dealing with some knucklehead guy on YouTube that, I'm talking about me. So he said, take a look at these pictures, but I guess so overall, these pictures aren't going to be very good because I printed them out. But over where he's at, they deal with a lot of concrete stuff. I can tell. Like the whole building is concrete, which looks like an absolute nightmare. Because I do know he mentioned before, Sean did that. He was like, "Do you guys mount to wood?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we mount to wood." And he's like, "You are a lucky dog." So, looks like the installer did a few wonky things on it. Their stuff is a little different. But anyways, so here's the one. I don't even know how to really, it's something Profactor doors or whatever, but I wanted to address something just because if I don't end up getting back, because sometimes if I don't really know a direct answer, I either make a video about it or I will, I'll address it on, you know, the old YouTube here. So he's talking about high-speed doors and working with us and, you know, selling them and whatnot. And so here's the manifesto on high-speed doors for us. Over here anyways, not to say it can't be, so you guys don't beat me up too bad in the comments. High-speed doors are just not they're really not our gig. We don't hardly ever see high-speed doors. We see rubber doors in a sense. I don't really want to call them so much high-speed, a lot for garage doors, or well, garage doors, you dummy, for car washes, because car washes are very corrosive, and so we see that. But what's happened in my experience of, you know, how many years of doing this is that what I see is for us, so we've had two customers in a sense that have had high-speed doors. And what it was is one was a guy had a car wash, and he could literally buy them cheaper offline through a company. I don't remember what company it was. And they would deliver. I mean, like it's kind of like it's a little bit of a joke, because if you think about it, you know, some of these manufacturers, it's kind of like with the garage doors. Some of these manufacturers are very like area dominant, right? Like the only, like you can only, if you're, for example, Wayne Dalton doesn't do it. Wayne Dalton's almost like if you hit certain criterias, they'll let you be a dealer. Clopay is very, like you can only be in a certain region or certain area, and they will, that's it. They don't want no more. You know what I mean? Which is kind of good. So these high-speed doors, it seems like you get, who is it? Albany's one of them. Wayne Dalton does them. There's a few more out there. We would get parts from almost like our competition in a sense. We get the parts, and they were a distributor too. And we could provide better service than our other competition could to fix them. But they are such a different animal. I mean, like when I did a gearbox on one, I mean, these gearboxes are huge. I mean, they're like 300 pounds with a motor on them. I mean, they're massive. Like they told us, they said, look, you got to do the gearbox and you got to do the motor at the same time. And so, you know, and I mean, these are huge numbers. You know what I mean? They're 3,000, 5,000, 8,000. I mean, the numbers are, you know, and the customers, I mean, it goes on and on. But anyways, what I'm getting at is that you can buy this stuff through Grainger, through other places. I know there's better products, you know what I mean? But for us, it's never, we can't compete because we don't sell enough. You know what I mean? So it's always like, and either for us, a lot of customers want like security. So like when you see a high-speed door, it's like, you know, they're like, how do I not just take a knife and slice through this thing? The one guy, he bought the high-speed doors and we actually installed them, and that was okay. They had their electrician kind of come up behind us. You know, they were kind of common sense. It really wasn't nothing bad. So we've done a few, but it's just nothing like, the best one I've ever seen when I went to a seminar was honestly, it was Wayne Dalton. Wayne Dalton, I liked their display. I liked how it plugged in. I liked it reminded me of like using, there's like some of that stuff out there is like Microsoft Excel, and then there's like Google. And Google's just like, oh, you want to click more. It's like candy, right? You're like, oh, it tells you what to do. It tells you where to go. It tells you, it's colorful. It says, you know, green is on and red is off, you know, like just real simple things like that. So like I said, you know, I don't think I'm your guy, Sean. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're looking for high-speed doors, I don't think we're going to sell them, because we just don't deal with high-speed doors. So I wanted to make that caveat out there. So, anywho, what else do we got on the docket? You guys got any questions? How's it going out there? Everybody's super busy. You guys seeing the economy? What are you seeing out there? Tell Uncle Dave what you're seeing. What's going on? Is it just it's not looking good. I've been watching a couple other YouTubers, and what's up, Mr. Rich B? And that's a cool little hand. And I'm telling you, this is one of those things where I'm like always thinking to myself. I go, it ain't good. It ain't good. That's why, like, if you exhaust your vehicles and stuff. So I'm watching a couple other guys. One was trying to look for a rear end seal for his truck, and and he says he can't find it. The dealership said they don't know when it's coming in. It's for the rear end. It's a 3,500 truck or something. 1 ton, and he needed to replace the brakes and whatnot, and can't find the seal. O'Reilly, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know how this feels. I've been there. I've done this. It's not fun, and that's why sometimes I look at it and I go, hey, that's the way you got it. Like right now, protect the heart, protect your business, protect. Don't be making rational. This is the time to be going out and making just super big moves, and going, well, I think I kind of need that scissor lift, or don't do it. Don't do it. Not right now. Not right now. Not unless you got tons of money sitting in the bank and you got to get rid of it for the end of the year. Make educated decisions. You know what I mean? Like I said, this is just not the time to go right now. I can feel it. I know we're looking. It's just all it's going to start taking is that stock market to start. I can't believe gas prices haven't just taken off yet. So I was even, talking to Mr. SOS, and I was asking what his gas was out there. I think he was up at like 650, maybe it's 550 a gallon now. Over here we're sitting about 340, and I was reading that it says that right now we're in the summer, we're in the summer blend. So they're trying to wipe that out to get the winter blend in for diesel. I don't know what they really do for gas. They probably dilute it more, but I don't know. But they do something, so that's probably the reason they kind of still keep it. Make everybody consume it. Yes, take care of it so we can get the winter blend in. The cheaper stuff, the stuff that don't work so good, Sorry, I digress. So another thing I was thinking about with you guys is, a guy that installed for many years that I was kind of thinking about is, he was telling me one time with garage doors, and I wrote this down because I figured I was thinking about it, and I said, he always told me, he says, you never get rewarded in the garage door business for doing a good job. Now, I take that with a little bit of a caveat. Oh, I see Rich says 330, man, it's on sale. Get those milk jugs out, dump the milk, screw the milk, start filling up those milk jugs with gasoline. You see those people doing that with like plastic bags. Oh my gosh, hope that wasn't real. Hope they made that up, but it probably is. And but anyways, I always thought about this a little bit with the whole, you do a good job and you never get rewarded. And that always kind of resonated with me, because this is just something to open up your mind. When you think about it, when you do garage doors and you do a good job, right? You do a good job, you get paid, you don't come back. You don't do another service call. You don't, you don't have to do another repair. Now, there's the flip side of this. Before you beat me up, obviously, you don't have to come back, right? So that's going to save you time, gas, money, energy. That's a huge blessing, right? And so then you got to think about, you also, maybe your neighbors recommend you, maybe they don't. But see, the thing is, when it comes to the neighbors, the residential, they're going to well, how much do they charge? Not all of them, but some of them. Some of them know. Some people, there's maybe 10%, maybe a little more, about 10% of people out there that know, it's hard to find, good help. And if they did a good job for their neighbor, I want you to come do a good job for me. I don't even care about the price. And then there's the people that really do, want to, yeah, always put out your bad news travels faster than good news. That's very true. That is very true. But I always keep thinking about that a little bit. And so I get a lot of guys that are kind of, getting into this. I just opened up, I worked with a nephew over the weekend here. And I was telling him, I said, when are you going to start, doing some more garage door? And he goes, well, he says, he's looking at the hauling of the door. He's got a minivan. And not that I should stop you, because there's actually a pretty big company that actually works out of a minivan, and they got a rack. And I mean, it's pretty impressive. If I ever get a chance, I'll take a picture of it. But, and I was like, garage door springs, they're small, they're compact. I was like, you don't have to worry about dents, you don't have to worry about dings, you don't have to, you show up and you're the hero, right? Because it's like that one thing. My dad told me one time, he says, nobody cares about a fire extinguisher until there's a fire, right? I'm sure tonight, before you came onto this live stream, you weren't sitting there buffing your fire extinguisher. Oh, lovely. Such a good fire extinguisher. Oh, make sure it's full, make sure it's clean, make sure the pin activates, out, reverses, whatever. Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna do it. But there's a fire, you're like, where's that fire extinguisher? So it's just weird how the mind works. And so I try to bring that to the surface a little bit, because I don't think there's a lot of guys out there like me that talk about this stuff. They'll talk about all the good, the bad, the products, the highlights of things, like, oh, look at me, or this or that, or whatever. I'm still thinking about that one guy. Who's that one that does educational ones? And he's like, I just charged him $1,200 to change out a spring. And it might have been one. And I'm like, $1,200? I'm like, where do you live that you charge that much? I'm like, I'm not saying you can't, but because I think, what's that one company? Precision Door? I think it's Precision Door was one of them that would actually rake you over the coals. Like, they go in there with their whole idea, which I do like this. So it's something I always think about. Maybe you didn't know about this. They work kind of on the sales, right? So one thing though is, like, they'll come in, they'll do a broken spring. And I think what they do, this is my think process, is they come in, they oversize the spring, right? So they oversize it. So that spring is going to last a little bit longer than 10,000 cycles, let's say. It's going to last maybe 20. Their idea is that they will oversize that. They'll tell you, well, we should change out your rollers, which is, I'm not saying it's bad, but we should change out your rollers. And we'll do this all for $600. Now, this was quite a few years ago, because I went to a lady and that's what she told me. It was a little 9x7 door, and I'm like, non-insulated, no windows. And I'm like, $600? I'm like, heck, I can install a new door for you for like $600. And she's like, yeah, I kind of thought they were a little overpriced, and I'm like, So I thought, well, I see what they're doing though. And then I think what they do is they probably put like a lifetime warranty on it, because think about it, right? You guys probably know this, but you ever gone to like AutoZone, and AutoZone will they're like, we'll give you lifetime brake pads. You're like, how in the hell do you do lifetime brake pads? How do you do it? Like, they all wear out. I mean, that's what they're made to do. But the idea is they get you come in there, buy more stuff, right? The lifetime, some people really, that stuff really works. I'm telling you, do something free and advertising. What do they say? Free is the biggest advertisement of them all. So lifetime, that always gets people's attention, and they'll spend the money. But, obviously what the idea is, that AutoZone is expecting you to either sell the car, smash the car wears out before you come back in and get, 2 or 3 or 4 more sets. Because I bought them before, and normally leave my rims all crappy and nasty, and they were more work than they were worth, and they didn't stop worth a hoot. And you go back in there, and they, well, maybe this one didn't wear so good, you might need a caliper, and or they just switch them out. Normally not too much grief. This was before the cough syndrome was going on. So there's a trick to a lot of this stuff sometimes, and it's all kind of how you handle it. It really is. But it blows my mind. But what I wanted to tell you about with this was what I did like. And I always thought about this in my own business, was that I like that they colored the spring, because I like the colored springs. Now, normally you got to buy a certain quantity of springs to make that, like, they'll do it like Service Spring or whoever. But I was thinking about it, and I thought, I like that, because if the customer takes a picture, this is like thinking very long term, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 years out. I look at that and I go, if they took a picture, they go, well, I got a broken spring, right? And then you see the spring, it's easier to see the separation possibly. Never tried it. but you also know that that's your spring. So like with Precision, they always had green springs. They were like a dark forest green. And so it's like you walked in, you're like, oh, like I know who changed that. I mean, it even said their name on it and everything. And they lasted quite a long time, the coating on them. And I always just kept thinking, I thought, I think that's kind of a, like, then you know that your spring was put on there 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, right? And you know you got a warranty. It would just save the technicians that it's like, what color was the spring? Oh, it was black. And you didn't charge them? Or you know what I mean? Like it would help for in the future. I liked it too. I just liked that it was colored. I don't know. So it's just something to open up your mind a little bit because I'll tell you a little story. We went to a auto parts store. Oh, it was an auto parts store. It was a mechanic shop. Let's just say it was like in the hood. And they did a lot of work because they were cheap. And I remember they ended up, we did a garage door spring, a pair. These were old nasty wood doors with glass in them. I mean, just like they're always like, give me a price every time you were there. Give me a price to replace them. And it's like, dude, I gave you 3 prices. You never change them. Like you just never do it. And it's like, these things are a pile of junk. They're going to hurt somebody. The glass falls out of them sometimes. Like, jeez, whatever. So anyways, we get this phone call. And there was always kind of like the owner, and then there was like a guy that kind of ran it with them. He was kind of like, reminded me of like, I don't know, some actor, you know what I mean? I don't even remember which one. But anyways, he tells me, he goes, hey, one of the garage door spring broke. You guys were just out here 3 months ago. And I'm like, you guys like open and close a door that much, that within like 3 months, the garage door spring breaks? And now I was a little more green, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, that doesn't sound right at all. Like, how can you guys run a door, 10,000 times? Like, I know you do a lot of work, but what? And so I kind of panicked, right? I was kind of like, I go, here's the thing. I said, it's commercial, which we pretty much, we don't, right? I said, we don't cover commercial broken springs. I said, we'll come out there. Well, you're going to have to come take a look because something ain't right, blah, 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 All right. So I send my one lead guy out there. He starts the job, whatever. He calls me up or something. I'm out doing another one. And he's like, dude, this guy's ticked that we're not going to cover this. And I'm like, I'll be over. So I swing over there and I'm looking, right? And he's like, comes out of the office just bolting up to me, and he's like, I can't believe that spring is only 3 months old. And I'm thinking like, I mean, it could happen, right? There could have been a manufacturer defect. I don't know, but still it doesn't matter. It's commercial, man. I can't I don't know if what you guys are doing all day, if you guys are open, how many times you open this during a day or whatever. I just thought, I'm not doing it. And I start looking at it and I'm like, that spring looks old. Like it does not look like it's 3 months old. Like it's got dust and dirt on it and it looks rusty. And I'm like, what the heck? Well, I told him, I said, I'm pretty sure, I said, we replaced that one that was right next to it because they had multiple bays. Nope, it says the 4th door, whatever. Blah. I mean, he's just persistent about it. Well, I finally had to stand my ground. And I just said, well, and he goes, I tell you what, he goes, I'll pay it. He goes, but this will be the last time I use you guys. And honestly, at that point, we were still pretty young. And I thought, man, I hate to lose a customer. But I put my foot down and I said, that's fine. I said, we'll replace it. You're gonna be charged the same as what you did 3 months ago. I said, but I just kept shaking I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. That's gonna be whatever, $300, $400, $600, whatever you're charging. I mean, it's a gnarly job. I mean, there's a lift, the floors are greasy. I mean, just think of just worse than the Dukes of Hazzard. Cooter's garage is cleaner. You know what I mean? And I just said, so he comes back out and he's like, well, I gotta apologize. And I said, I'm already just like ready for him to come out and be like, say something else. And I'd be like, all right, pack the crap up. We're leaving. You know what I mean? And he says to me, he goes, well, it depends on how you look at the building. He says, if you count 4 doors over this way, it's that one that you're saying. He says, so somebody must have got something wrong. Either it was us or him or whatever. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, dude, I'm not out trying to screw you. You know what I mean? I'm like, but I can't do this for free. You know what I mean? Like the labor alone, I can't do this for free. You know what I mean? Like, sure, I might save you $60, but I can't, you can't come out here and just act this way and come out just, and I always hated working there. I was always hoping they were going to find somebody else. We did a few replacement doors there. I think some of our competition, like we started, every time they want a price, it was like through the moon, you know what I mean? Because I'll tell you a little, I'll tell you what I think, which I learned from my uncle, and he always told me, he goes, hey, if you ever get a job that you don't want to do, he says, price it high enough that if you do get it, that you're like, oh, it's going to be worth your while. So we always would just pack this door, like, whatever it was, add $500, $1,000 onto it. Cause it's like, we just don't even want to do it. They're horrible at pay. They're just, everything is always, they're not good customers. They need to be fired. And I think we kind of worked up to them till the day they went out of business. I think the guy that was running it either closed it, retired in a sense. I didn't wish them bad ill or anything like that. It was just that business wise, we weren't, you're looking for the trunk slammer. We're not the trunk slammer, you need to find somebody else. So anywho, you guys got anything out there? Anything new? Seeing any problems with garage door openers? Certain ones, certain brand, makes, models? I'm always interested on that kind of stuff because, I don't see a ton of them. I'm not out in the field a little bit. But, so I'm going to tell you another thing too. With customers, I learned this too. We had a customer that was really close to the business here. And I remember I'd go out there and I'd fix this door. And I mean, we are talking think about a pop can, crushing it like 5 times and then being like, can you make it work? Like, can you stand on it? You know how if you poke the side of a pop can, you stand on it, it'll crush, but it'll never work the same, right? And I'm like, I go out there, right? And this guy, that's always running the place. It's always a stinking emergency, right? It's always, oh, we got trucks coming in, even though they got 2 more bays, right? But this one bay's down. We got trucks coming in. And they did kayaks. And I remember they'd always have kayaks on top of their head, and 2 people would be walking in, they're swinging them, and I mean, just hustle and bustle, man. It looked like something from China. And so I remember I put angle iron around the whole structure of this thing to reinforce it because it's the bottom section. And it's crushing itself, it's flipping out and everything. I get this thing and I'm I told him, I said, look, I said, you gotta get a new bottom section for this. And he's like, okay, yep, give me a price. You know what I mean? So of course I give him a price. Months go by, does he do anything with it? Nope. But what happens months later? Ring, ring, phone rings. Hey, door 8 number, whatever it's going, it's bad again. We need somebody out right now. And it's what is it, the little story of whoever cries wolf, and it's okay, we'll come out there. And I remember I went out there and I look at it, right? What are we gonna do? He says, and I'm I looked at it and I was just over the top with this dude. I mean, over the top. And I'm like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do nothing. Call somebody else if you want to. In my head, I'm thinking this. I'm like, yeah, I was like, door's gonna be down. Door's going to be down until you get a new bottom section. Because I'm looking at this door now and I've already restructured it. There's certain things, there's people walking in and out of these semis, hand unloading kayaks. And I'm going, it's unsafe. It's unsafe. And I don't want to be that guy that's on the 5 o'clock news that's, so, Mr. Dave, tell me what happened? What happened? Well, the guy wanted to save money. I mean, that stuff doesn't fly. You know what I mean? And I'm like, sorry, bud, it's unsafe. I'm not we'll have to wait till a new section comes in. And I tell you what, it was amazing how fast, it's he found that estimate and signed off on it to get that bottom section, or 2 sections, I think it was probably, get those coming right now. And I was like, oh, I learned something today. I learned that sometimes you just got to say no. And you just got to go, sorry, there ain't much I can do. It's pretty smashed up. Just going to have to wait till we get new ones. And then their mind will go, what do I got to do? What do I got to sign? I can't have this door down because we're messing up on shipments. Canada. I get a couple of you guys from Canada. Josh was another one. So if you're saying just learning it all before I get a truck, what are you thinking? You're thinking you need a truck? You don't need a truck. You can do it out of a car or a vehicle. Maybe you're too young. I don't know. I just, I see this block sometimes. When I was talking to the nephew, I said, so well, hauling them and stuff like that. All you gotta do is think differently. Who says you gotta haul door sections? I see guys that are, what was I talking to the other day? That was telling me that they just do repairs. So they're not hauling any sections. They're just doing repairs. Now, maybe they got to do a door section here or there. What I mean? Maybe, right? But there's ways around it. Talk to the vendor, maybe have them drop it off, have the customer get it. There's so many different ways to look at this stuff. And I, basically told them, I said, the hardest thing to do is to make the phone ring. That's the hardest thing. And when that phone rings, you better pick it up, or you better have a good voicemail, or you better have it ring to you and ring to another person. I've done that, So, yeah, minivan. Dude, I'm telling you, I know a builder. I mean, this blows my mind. It blows my mind. This guy, for the longest time, it's a pretty big operation. And this guy's a builder, right? He's the manager, or not, he's like the foreman. He'll go around to location, make sure the guys are doing everything, this and that. And actually, now I think of it, through their whole fleet, in a sense, they drive minivans. And I'm always like, how does this guy drive around in a minivan with no stickers on the darn thing? And they got all these, and nobody comes out there and starts laughing, or they don't. You know why? Because he has confidence. Because he comes out there and it's like, what's up? This ain't going on right. This needs to get done. This needs to get done. And people know his aura, right? They know his aura. And he's there to do business. And he just hops back in. He says, they like him because they'll hand them down to employees or workers. They can haul a lot of people. They got a lot of room. They're cheap to fix. They're good on gas. That's a big one. And it's like one of those things, you need parts, they're available. I mean, it's just amazing. I've always realized, when you get into the bigger trucks, they're a lot of work. Wheel bearings, very expensive. Need bigger tools. I had a box truck one time, and that box truck was a stinking nightmare. You know what I mean? Have you noticed Genie openers losing limits memories? Why'd you have to bring that up? Yeah, Genies have problems. I don't know. Let me take a look real sec. I want to see if they got a pile there still. I don't know if I can unclip you without making things all squirrely. Let's see what we can do here. So here's a pile. Ta-da! There's a pile of Genies that have issues. I don't know what all the problem is, but they got problems. So unprofessional. Move us around like that. So the Genies back, though, that I just showed you right there, they got issues. Something's wrong with them, circuit board, something. It's exhausting. It's exhausting that now, supposedly, through what I hear through the grapevine, is that Wayne Dalton won't just accept them back and then refund us, get us swapped out, or give us money back, or whatever. So it's a real pain in the hindy, because we buy. Here's the thing. I mean, we buy, what is it, like a skid, 2 skids at a time. So it's like we need a little bit better service. So yeah, that's right. Open up the mind, dude. I'm telling you, your mind is your biggest thing. I mean, this is. Think about how many people out there. Everybody's got, unless they lose them, it happens. Sorry to hear that. Everybody's got fingers, toes, hands, nose, all that stuff, right? This is what you have to open up your mind when it comes to business. You have to look at different opportunities. You have to be a problem solver. Doesn't mean you have to be a great problem solver, but you have to look at everything as like, we got a problem. How do I fix it? How do I move on? How are we going to resolve this? That's all it is. You're finding solutions for customers. And if you find enough solutions, customers will pay you. They'll take care of you. They'll want your service. They'll want this. In business, it's really not that hard. The biggest thing is communication. Say what you're going to do. Don't be a thief. Don't be a liar. Have good character. What do? We just came behind one of the guys, which is, it's disappointing. One of the guys that used to work here did his own gig. Now he's not taking care of gate operators. So we got customers that are coming to us, and it's like, that's not what you do, man. You got to follow through. You know what I mean? He didn't know what he was doing on certain stuff. It's sad. You know what I mean? Dodge Caravan. All right. I'm just going to give it to you. I'm going to do a little Scotty Kimmler on here. I don't promote the Dodge Caravan. It's probably a great work van, and I hope it works for you. But I'm kind of like a Honda or Toyota guy. That's just me. I do know actually the guy that runs the builder, he does a Caravan. He actually does a Dodge Caravan. I don't know them personally. Let me know. If they work good for you, that's awesome. It's sad that a lot of American-made vehicles have a lot of issues these days, and I'm not happy to say that. I'm just not. I'm really not. But yeah, Dodge Caravan, it works. Hey man, use it as a beater. Good gas mileage. Yep. Dodge Caravan is great. Work. Yep. Some model that was giving me fits. I don't know what that was. I love the old mechanical limits. Yes. Yes, Ben. Mechanical limits. Bring them back. Mechanical limits. Bring them back. I love the mechanical limits. The only one problem that I had with mechanical limits, you guys probably know what they used to buck. So I don't know how to explain that, but how if you went, they'd work fine, right? You get a broken spring or something get goofy, the chain popped off, whatever, you had to do a gear, and they'd get a buck in them. So you go to turn that limit, and all of a sudden now the door is going too far, and the bar and everything, and you're like, whoa, what the, and then you have to, what the solution was. Maybe you don't, maybe you do. Go in there and clean those contactors. Take your, where is it? That's what this works good for. Go in there, take the cover off, go to the limits, give them a nice little scratch, little scruff, on both sides of those limits. That normally took care of it. I don't know what it was. I've never really seen anything come off them, flake off them. It's just there's an invisible sheen on them. And once they, those contactors came together, it was fine. That's why I was really mad when this was one of those things, kind of like a kick in the nuts, when LiftMaster came out with the ATSW, with that weird, and I was like, why? I was like, the LiftMaster ATS was my last opener to go to that had, you guys will have to let me know, is it called dry limits? Where basically you could just take two wires and touch them together and make the opener move. And I was like, why? Why did you do that? Because that's what I would use at certain jobs. I knew that they wanted, we want a button over here, we want a button over there. And I'm like, this thing, and plus what I loved about it was we could set it on a generator. I could walk away from that thing. I didn't care if it was 5 or 10 years later and they finally got power up to it, and they'd call me up and they go, hey, we finally got power to this building. Is there going to be any problems, or can we just plug this thing in and go? And I'm like, plug it in, baby, and go. There is no weird mechanical, or not mechanical, but there's no weird circuit board that's going to freak out on you, or there's going to be some limits that screw up. Go. It's got mechanical limits. It could sit there till the end of time, and it's going to know its limits unless it gets something goofy on it. You know how that goes. But yeah, minivan. Yeah. I could not pass. Who's that? I could not pass. Oh, on the minivan, Rich, I'm sorry. It's hard to read these when they're kind of small. So Rich, yeah, pass, man, shoot, I get it. I'm not bashing you by any means. Like I said, if it works for you and it runs and it does, hell, go for it, man. I always put it out there, like when I bought the wife, we went with the Toyota Sienna because I was like, I just don't want to work on this thing. I want her to be in something reliable, safe, blah, blah, blah. And I'm kind of becoming more are you guys watching right now? I've noticed, I'm not saying it's going to be bulletproof because Toyota's got some issues going on, but they are coming out with hydrogen. They're really working on hydrogen right now. And instead of this electric vehicle stuff, and I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen the same stuff I see with all these electrical fires and how are you going to charge them, and then they're doing something like they're punishing you if you're like at the charging station and then it's charged and you're not there to uncharge it because there's people waiting in line and it takes 45 minutes. I mean, it's just like, I don't know how's this going to work? This is not going to work. And I really think we could make stuff. We can probably, they won't let us have it. There's stuff out there. They can probably make it run on rainwater. You know what I mean? Hydrogen is basically water, but I don't know exactly how it all works. I'm learning a little bit. So yeah, 06 older. Oh, okay. I gotcha. They have the newer transmission. See, I don't follow the Dodges. I got an old Dodge that's a pickup truck, like an 87. It's really mint. It's my first truck I've ever had, my first vehicle. And and here's the thing. It's the same thing like with LiftMaster and Genie, right? And I learned this a long time ago. I learned it from my stepdad. I remember we had an old lawn boy. We had a lawn boy mower. And it had a discharge on the side, right? So I remember the bag would always fill up and the darn machine would always almost like flip. If you had that perfect grass that was super heavy. And we ran the crap out of that. It was a 2-stroke. We had to mix the oil in. It smoked, but it just ran and ran for years. It cut my mom's little yard that she had. And that thing finally took a puke. I was already leaving the house, I think. I was moving out. And I remember my stepdad being like, I'm going to go buy another lawn boy. And I thought in my head, that's a ingenious idea. Why would you not? We already had this lawn boy that's been it's 20 to 30 years old, this old thing. I mean, it's old. It just don't have no compression anymore. And I remember he went and bought that new one. And they were selling them at Walmart. Keyword, Walmart. Sell them at Walmart. But it's lawn boy. It's lawn boy. It's a lawn boy. Remember we got that thing, we ran it for a little bit. He ran it basically. And the thing, I mean, I just come over there and he is taking it to the shop. They're gonna work on the carburetor. It's a 4-stroke. I mean, this thing it wasn't right from day one. And he was so disappointed. He was so upset, had a different rear discharge bag, which was fine. But it just didn't run. It's like, what happened? It's a lawn boy, man. What's going on? What's wrong with this thing? It was like, it should be good. Well, come to find out, Lawn Boy got sold many years back to another company. So it's not the same Lawn Boy. I've heard this before through my brother-in-law. He's telling me one time, he goes, if you go buy a Husqvarna, let's say, or whatever it was that he was buying, he goes, the Husqvarna that you buy at the box store isn't the same Husqvarna that you buy at a dealer. And that was about the first time it resonated to me that I went, oh my gosh. Think about it. You go to Lowe's, you go to Home Depot, you go to maybe, not Menards, I'm not going to say Menards. But these guys carry, right? They have either Genie or they have Chamberlain products, right? And they're not the same as a dealer though. They're not the same thing that I sell. My rails are a solid rail. The ones at the store are pieced up in a box so you can put it in the trunk of your car. Convenience. Do they have better sprockets than that? Typically not. Typically, they do half chain, they do half cable. Well, why do they do that? Saves on this, right? That's why their openers are $100 cheaper or whatever, you know what I mean? So and it's hard because when you're doing the business, people are out there and they're like, well, I can go to the box store and I can buy it for $199 and you're charging me, $400 to install it. And it's like, yeah, but my opener is $250, my cost or whatever it is, $200. I got labor. I'm going to warranty it. So there's a whole list of things that go into it. So 06, yeah. Let's see, it's got this, it goes down. So I learned that everything is not created equal. Every year it could change, right? Kind of like LiftMaster. I was a big LiftMaster. When I got rid of the ATS, I was like, I don't know if I like you no more. Too good to sell enough repair parts. Love the Hondas. The Hondas I heard are good too. MTD, yeah, MTD seems like they run a lot of stuff out there. Yeah, so, that makes sense. Lawn Boy used to be Toro, makes sense. Toro used to have good product. I don't know so much, I think my stepdad just bought a Toro, I think. I I could be wrong. I just seen it, and I was like, how you like that? And he says, running good. And I was like, good. Because he has all kinds of problems sometimes with that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm just going to buy an electric one, because sometimes not the best winterizing, the gas, all that stuff, and oil changes, True LiftMaster Professional Series is not box store, rail, yep. Flimsy carriage, yep. You got that right. Apples and oranges, man, but it's so hard. And so Rich, for you, like, I don't know if you're starting out in the business, right? I get a lot of guys that are starting out in this business. And so with me being that old seasoned vet, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not out here for you guys. I'm not out here to bash anybody. I'm not out here to say don't do this. I just wish. Remember the story I always tell you about? I seen one of the family members at a wedding one time that had that phone. He ran a deck business, and he was going on these exotic hunting trips and all this. And I was like, I want to be like that guy. I want to be like that guy. Well, I became that guy, and then I was like, that guy's not that cool. You know what I mean? Like, take it back, take it back. It's like that Hulk movie, where his dad's trying to take his powers, and he's like, take it all, and he takes it and he can't handle it. That's what this business can do. I always think it's like a top, one of those ones that you spin, it spins, and then you get it really spinning, and then maybe it goes too fast and explodes. There's all different kind of layers to this. So my situation is going to be way different than your situation, but I wish there was somebody that was in the business like me that would explain and say how many things. So I'm gonna be bringing up a video here shortly. I'm working on editing it right now. But this weekend, right? We get to this job. We're doing a keypad. Keypad's not that hard, right? Keypad gooseneck. Dude, this is pretty common sense. Well, we're doing this, and I get there, right? And I'm looking at this gate operator, and I'm like, dude, this chain is way sagging. Like I'm not gonna sleep tonight. Like I can't leave this chain sagging this bad. I just can't. I can't. So I tear it apart, right? Well, come to find out, I don't have a chain brake on this truck. Oh man, no chain brake. Great. Well, luckily, this truck didn't have a grinder. I just ordered one. It just came in. I just put it on that truck. I'm kind of going through this truck again, making sure everything's good for the next technician. And I'm like, so I take a grinder, I get it off, right? I break the chain. I take probably about that much chain out of that chain to get the tighteners back up because they're maxed out. So there's that. No big deal. Made it happen. Well, now I'm sitting there, I'm wiring up the keypad and the operator, right? And I realize, I go, oh, there's a fuse in here, which is common. I go, the fuse has got like something, like, what is that? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that is not what I think it is. Somebody actually took bubble gum, the foil, and wrapped it around the fuse. I've never seen this done before. And stuck it on the fuse, but now the fuse is no good. It ain't gonna do its job. And these circuit boards are very sensitive. This is only a 2 amp fuse. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I'm pretty sure there's not one on the truck. Luckily, we're not, this is a job that we kind of did a little bit farther away than I'd like to. 45 minutes an hour, shouldn't do it. But there's local places close by. There's Lowe's, Home Depot, we got everything, restaurants, everything. So I send the one guy, I'm like, hey, go see if you can find this fuse. So he's going to place to place to place. They don't have it. The lowest one they got is 3. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So finally he says, well, one had 2.5. And I thought, 2.5? He goes back there. I'm like, get the 2.5. And he calls me up and he says, it wasn't 2.5. The worker looked at it wrong. It's actually a 25. And I'm like, whatever. Just get me a 3 amp. I don't care right now. This is taking way too long. I don't care. Just let's roll. So I stick that fuse because I'm ready to hook my keypad up, and I'm thinking, I'll be darned if I hook my keypad up, and my keypad is what shorts this circuit board on my watch. And then now I got to be like to the owner or whoever and be like, yeah, somebody like bypassed your fuse, and then like, yeah, I zapped it. So now you need, like a $200 or $300 circuit board. Yeah, that sounds great, doesn't it? I don't want to do that. So there's the bad thing with garage doors, and this might be, some of those guys out there are probably more into one niche than I am, which is not a bad thing. I'm telling you. And what it took to make this job work is, it blows your mind. Like I literally go and I go, I don't know how people, like, how are they going to put this, like, you got to get water, you got to get cement, you got to make sure you got your fittings. Oh, you got to make sure you got a union for the conduit. Make sure you got glue for the conduit. Should you bring primer for the conduit? You don't really need to. It doesn't say you have to, but you probably should, just in case. I mean, there's just a list of things that goes on that MacGyver. That's right. I see it. Apples and oranges. Man, have you seen the new commercial LiftMaster? So I'm thinking I'm going to try one of these, the new LiftMaster, the soft start DC motors. I think I'm going to, Jaden's garage. Hello, I'm back. Hey, it's good to see you. What did you do? Get some dinner? Where's mine? Stressed out, yeah. Whoops, what did I hit here? And that guy that Dave was talking about. Yeah. No, it's so there's just so I have a little bit of a weird, I think they're getting better. I'm still butthurt by LiftMaster with that whole 8500 opener. I've had oh man, I've had so many problems with it. I've had the side locks malfunction and catch the rollers and bend rollers. You know, I was always getting ridiculed on, I was putting the sensor on the wrong spot, even though it's spring loaded. You know, so I did get people, you're installing it wrong. And I'm thinking, what? It's spring loaded. Like, it's supposed to, like, so you expect me, if I'm mounting the opener over here, which it has holes on both sides of the 8500, you know, it doesn't say I can't mount it, you know, I got to mount the safety thing all the way across this header over there? No, screw that. I'm going to mount it right here. You know, I was just telling the wife, yeah, Rich, you're right. I heard they did get rid of the sensor. I think this is my opinion. I think because Genie came out with one that they do now, it's supposed to be like a shutter. And we've installed a couple. I haven't personally. I heard they got kind of that shutter to them. I think LiftMaster said, hey, we need to up the game and get rid of that, and we need to figure something else out. But that darn sensor, so, you know, I remember oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. We're doing a job. We had a guy that was too far away. He was up north, and I had a guy that was going to go do him. Well, his job started stacking up, right? And he's like, I'm not going to make it to the oil change place, which was kind of always a good customer, but kind of far away. They had a broken cable. We might have already let him sit for a day or two. I can't remember, but it was one of those moments where I'm like, I'll be darned if we don't get to this guy and get this door working for him. And then I got to get this other customer out of the way because they are scheduled for whatever, for that day as well. You know, it's hard to explain these things until you live it, right? When you're literally dealing with that customer and they tell you, well, if you can't be here by this, you know, we're leaving, we're going on vacation or whatever. I mean, you're just hello, problem. And so the technician was like, hey man, I'm not going to make it. And he had valid reasons. It wasn't like he was bound. It was one of those jobs that took longer. So I'm like, all right. I had the truck ready. I had my big enclosed trailer, my 20-foot long enclosed trailer. And I'm like, I know if I bring my I think I had a diesel truck at the time, and I bring my enclosed trailer, I got everything. I got a welder on there. I mean, I'm going to make something work. You know what I mean? So I remember I book it up there, right? You know, I'm cruising up there, radio blast, and I go up there, I take care of the oil change place, whippy whip, wop wop, sweat come down, wipe it off, put a smile on the face. I tell the guy, I said, look, I'm not going to make it tonight. I'll be there tomorrow. And I'm thinking, man, I'm not driving this truck all the way back. Because like I said, I don't know, it's an hour and a half or something, 2 hours. I don't think it was quite 2 hours, close, to get up to his place. And he had the 8500, you know, opener going on. And he also had, I believe it was like I think I was doing a door install too or something. I can't remember. But anyways, I get up there and I remember things are just, you know, so I forgot. So that night, right, I'm thinking I'm not driving back. So I park in a Walmart parking lot. Oh my gosh. Now, mind you, this is how dedicated, how severe this stuff is, right? How committed. So I actually got a pillow, I got a sleeping bag, and I literally have a cot in my trailer for emergencies or whatever that happen like this. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm crashing at Walmart tonight. Well, the trucks are annoying enough, you know, brakes, air brakes, whatever. People just, you know, you're in a closed trailer, it's very thin walls. And I remember that night it started raining and it was thundering. And oh my, I'm like literally like, I think, oh, I didn't have the cot. So I laid on the floor. I put some cardboard down, laid on the floor with my mattress or my sleeping bag. And I'm laying there. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I mean, just raining, you know. I remember I drove down to Applebee's to get something dinner that night. You know, I'm literally like, you know, all these things, you know, I got to pee out the man door, you know what I mean, to use the restroom. Luckily it's raining, you know what I mean? Otherwise it's gross. Otherwise I would have done something different. You know, maybe I guess walked into Walmart. But, you know, when you're in the back parking lot, like you want to, you know, I mean, not fun, right? So I go to this customer. I get up there. I start doing the job. And I'm starting to realize, oh my gosh, he's got low headroom track or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know how this door is going to function, like with low headroom track with this jack shaft opener, because it's like it wouldn't fit. And this, I think it's like either what he bought or had. And I'm panicking. I don't remember all the situations. And I'm like, the door, for whatever reason, it was like a Menards door. So everything, you know, the rollers are junk. It's the rollers with no bearings. I mean, I'm like literally like every way I pull this door, I don't matter if I widen out the track, it's running like crap. I'm literally like, the opener's going to fail. That sensor is going to sense that it's going to throw the cables. This opener is not going to work. And I'm panicking. And of course, do you think on my big old rig, what do I got? I don't got pusher springs. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna need pusher springs. I'm gonna need pusher springs for this door taking off when it goes down. And there's no way to fit an opener. Because, I think he had a beam. He had a beam back there. So the rail would have to be cut and it wouldn't be the right. So that's why we were doing the jack shaft. And for whatever reason, the good Lord must have been looking out for me that day, but it worked. But I tell you, what people don't see, and that's what I want you young guys to realize, is that I was in code red. I was calling the wife in a frantic, and I'm like, hey, you gotta go to this, you gotta go to the shop, you gotta find these pushers, and she's like, what? I'm like going through, I'm like, you know, I always carry one of these on the truck, you know, service spring. And I'm like, you gotta get this. This ain't it, but you gotta get this. You gotta get this. I'm taking pictures. I'm like, it should be in bin 3, 4 down, next one over. You got to get these. Like, you know, if I got to meet you halfway, you know, now mind you, she's got a baby. I mean, just all this chaos is happening. And I got to keep moving, right? It's Saturday. I don't want to be here all day. I don't want to spend the night in the dude's driveway. And so I'm like, the door's working. I don't even know how it's working. I think she found them. I think she got about halfway, a quarter of the way up. And I'm calling her on the phone. I'm like, hey, babe, thanks. Thanks for, I don't need them. You know what I mean? It's just, there's just so many variables. And so the point is, you might, like I said, you use this as a tool, you make the money or whatever, but invest it, right? You might not want to grow so much into it. Not saying you can't, but it's just after you do it and you realize the stress and the problems and the dilemmas, and it's just, it's not that it's undoable. It's just, it's getting worse. A lot of people, you know, in the old, you know, WD, I like to say, there's people that took a lot of, you guys probably see it, you probably feel it. There's people that don't take pride in their work anymore. There's not people that been there. You don't go to places anymore that's like, oh, you know, Johnny or whoever, he's been here for 10, 20, 30 years, whatever. It's like, oh, he just started last week. Well, what's he know? You know, you ever watch some of these guys? Like I've been to these factories. This was before the cough syndrome. I've like had these guys out like loading stuff, right? On a truck, right? I bring a truck down, bring a trailer down. And they're like, they're temp workers. They don't care. You know what I mean? They're not the guys at the end of the line, right? Like us that got to deal with the customer. And I remember like they're throwing the sections on my trailer, just letting them go. I mean, like with, you know, how much distance, just, I'm like, whoa. I'm like, dude, don't be throwing those sections down like that on an angle. I mean, you know, just, and they're like, what's the big deal? I'm like, what's the big deal? I got to go to the customer and I got to install this. And if it's got a big whopping dent in it, they're going to want a refund. They're going to want me to come out and replace it for free. I got to deal with the vendor. I got to deal with the secretary of the vendor. I got to deal with this. Like, And then I got to come back up here. And then by the time I bring another section that's got another dent in it because you didn't care, loading it on their truck or something, oh, I look like a real goofball, you know. Who's doing rainbows? And so I don't know what I quite missed here. So I got rid of the sensors, spring loaded. So spring loaded. Are you asking what spring loaded is, or are you just telling me something? Yeah, slide locks were junk. Yeah, the side locks were like, they're real temperamental, you know what I mean? And then some people I just didn't even put them on for if they had a big enough door. Micro switch, yeah, cable's loose, throw the cables, yeah, throw the cables. See, that's the thing is, I just never am a fan of jack shaft openers because it's just not the right way. When you got a dock door in a commercial building, yeah, you got to do it, you know what I mean? But I don't like it when people do it as like a fantasy, or they think it looks cool, or it's got this cool, like, I don't care about cool. I care about function. I care about reliability. You know what I mean? Defect cables getting loose. It is so important to pitch horizontal. Yeah. You know, and that's, you're right. You're right, Ben, with pitching the track. I think that doesn't hurt either. We had one guy, I got a video out there. I still get annihilated on it. People are like, you're installing it, you know, and I'm like, dude, I went back to this job. Like, you don't even know how many times I've gone back to this job. And I've widened out the track. I mean, I started pitching it, and this opener just kept failing. And finally, I put a Genie screwdriver on it. Never one call. I go by there probably once a week. It's on an old, you know, main road, you know, but it's a country setting. You know, he sits way back off the road, and I look at that thing all the time. I go, that guy never called me back after I put that Genie screwdriver on there, because that was the right way to do it. But the guy I had working for me, it was for his buddy. He was like, hey man, they're coming out, because, you know, it's easy to do when the salesperson comes in and they're like, you know, I still remember, you know, and the thing is, these guys, I didn't know this stuff, but your salespeople can come in. Remember, some of you guys probably don't remember the iDrive. Remember the Wayne Dalton iDrive? The Wayne Dalton iDrive. Let that sink in. Maybe Google it real quick. I'm gonna read some of your comments. So, Wayne Dalton E3 side locks are magnified with no issues. 8300s, they're side locks. Oh. But you had a sure. So I remember the sales guy coming in, and yeah, drawbars, man. Drawbar openers, they're just what's been around. They're just what's been around. They work. I agree, Ben. So I remember the iDrive. The iDrive was basically, it mounted onto that teardrop tube that Wayne Dalton makes for their Torque Master, right? That was their big, you know, like revolutionary, which it was. It was pretty cool, right? And I remember we did two of them. I was at a duplex. And I remember the iDrive, we hooked them all up, read the instructions, you know, whatever, did the Torque Master, you know, the whole setup. And these were like non-insulated doors, 16 by 7s. And I remember we get them fired up, right? Well, the iDrive, what was the funniest thing about it, it had self-learning limits. And at one part, you're kind of going, oh, self-learning limits? That's pretty ingenious, George. And the other party is going, that's freaking stupid. They know where I live? I live up in Michigan. We got ice and snow and we just unpredictable weather. It's a mess, you know? And I remember we hooked that thing up, we got it running, and the darn thing would leave like an inch gap underneath of it. Now I had my business partner with me. Like I said, the night before we both read the instructions. He's very electrical savvy, right? And I'm sitting there like, what do we do? It won't go down. I mean, he's like, he got so mad. He goes, he's like, screw it. That's just the way they are. And I said, the way they are. I said, we can't leave them like that. A customer can't, hey, this is how your new garage door, brand new, it's a brand new install, brand new building, brand new duplex. Oh, that's just the way it is. Oh yeah, just by the way, mice can come under your garage door at any time, and the snow. That's just the way it is. So I remember we found ways to manipulate it, like we're standing on the door to help it down, and it was an absolute nightmare. We did the second door right next to it, right? We're thinking, okay, this one's a dud, something's wrong. let's reread the instructions, whatever. We reread them. Something's not going right. We just, there's a way to tweak it, but it was just so complicated. And then they had this stupid arm that'd be like beep, 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 and it'd go and come down. And that's how it's supposed to lock it so the door couldn't be lifted. And it was like jamming up. It was an absolute nightmare. It was like, the salesperson come back in, they're like, how you like those? We have a lot of people. You want to buy a skid? And it's like, no. We're going to stick with our LiftMaster, you know what I mean? Which I forget that LiftMaster, was it the 8065? Somebody remember the model of those? Those were what I was built on back in the 06, 07, 08. I think it was a 60, 65 or something like those, like a dual light. They were the Cadillac. This thing might even have it. This might be an old magazine. Let me see if this one's got it. They used to put the dates on them. They started putting the dates on them, then they quit putting the dates on them. And then now everything's like digital. They don't even send you whatever you call it. I was hoping maybe I could find it because, man, I love those things. It's in here. I think these are it. No, these are the newer style, aren't they? The 83s. They're not these ones, I don't think. No, not the 83s or whatever. Man, they used to be really solid openers. They were mechanical limits, simple to program. I'm wondering if the circuit boards are in here to tell you the models. No, LB something. No, I don't have it, but they were just great openers. That's what I was built on with LiftMaster. 8165, that might be it. Let me just make sure it's not this newer style. Yep, I think you're right. No, I don't see it in here as that, so I think you're right. I think it's the 8165. And they started changing numbers, and it was like, they were just bulletproof for us. I know Security Plus had some issues, things like that. They were saying the radios, like somewhere airplanes were triggering them, so they went from Security Plus to something else, they changed them. Surewinder winding tool. Oh, yeah, still been wondering about that. Yeah, oh yeah, the purple learn button was great. There you go. Yep, I remember that's probably them. They were simple. That's all I want. I just want something simple. We've tried using, who did we use before? Lanier. We've used Lanier too. They feel so cheap. You ever use Lanier? The remotes just feel like, it's like they even changed their keypad. And then it was like we were using them, then Lanier ended up, what happened? Oh, they quit. We bought some commercial. We bought some commercial openers from them. That was not a good gig. That was not a good gig. It was bad, very bad, bad. But then they quit making the Lanier, right? Commercial opener. And so, you know what that means? Probably not going to be able to find parts. So we ended up, and then since we lost our rep, basically, he moved on to something else. The thing kind of crumbled. The Laniers were okay. They did work. I was surprised at how much they did work. I used to have some quirks with the photo eyes, but it was like the interaction part was like, this is just not very, how do you say it? Sexy? Like it's just, the remotes weren't like, LiftMaster, just the remotes looked so much more vibrant and colorful and they felt better. And it's like, here, Mr. Customer, well, that's why you gave us $100 less because you wanted the cheaper model. But they did work. I mean, they worked. But since we lost our sales guy, we just kind of don't mess with it anymore, This is kind of. So what else do you guys got? Remotes do feel cheap. I'm glad you said that because what does it say? And the T-rail was formed sheet metal. Yeah, we had the rails they worked. It was kind of one of those things where they did the job. I mean, they're okay. I mean, I like the idea that the rail it sounded like it was kind of universal. I remember this one time. I'm up at I'm doing this graphic guy's place. He does vehicle wrap. He actually wrapped my vehicle. There's a video out there, and I remember I was doing a Genie. And this is why this is the stuff I think about you guys in because I'm doing it on the weekend. and that's why I'm always looking at these when these salespeople come in, or when I go to these seminars, or I go to these warehouses where they're building the stuff, and I'm like I want to ask them. I want to be like, have you ever been out there in the field? Have you ever been out in the field? You're like a lone wolf. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. You guys know how it feels when you're out there all by yourself. You're trying to provide for your family, for maybe your extended family, employees, vendors, whatever, right? And when all it takes is you realize that one little part can screw you, because like the worst part, like I think a framer might have it better, like framing a house, because you can go somewhere and you can say, hey, I need a 2x4. Oh, we got those. You know what I mean? Like, but we have certain things that there's just, you don't have them. And I know it's easy to say, well, you're supposed to have them on your truck. Why don't you carry this and why don't you carry that? And it's like, well, my goodness, why don't I carry a kitchen sink too? I mean, it just happens. But I remember I'm at this doing the wrap, and the guy said, hey, I'll give you the code. You can go in there, and it was a sweet job, right? I'm like, sweet, I got a scissor lift in there. I'm putting in, I don't know, it was a 12 or 14 foot Genie screw drive. I loved it because I could slam it right to the ceiling was plywood. So I'm just slamming it right to the ceiling. Everything's going great. And all it took, for whatever reason, Genie's got those, I wish I had one, those little clips that clip the screw drive together. I can't find that clip. And I'm just like, this is shutting the whole operation down. I'm like, I don't even know how am I gonna make one of these? How do I well, and at the time, Home Depot was selling Genie, and they were selling screw drives and stuff like that, but they were kind of phasing out. So I called, I'm like, hey, do you guys, and of course, where I'm at up north, I didn't even know this exists. These are things you learn, right? That the Lowe's up there and the Lowe's and the Home Depot up there are considered smaller stores. Huh? What do you mean smaller stores? I just figured Lowe's, no, like you see a Lowe's, you see a Home Depot, they're all the same. They're the same size, everything. No, not necessarily. These were considered smaller stores. It means they have lower ceilings. Like, the reason I know that is because I was looking for a piece of conduit that was it's like 2016 something, I can't remember. And they're like, we don't carry that, we only carry 8. I think I was looking for 2 10s. I'm like, you got 10-foot chunks of conduit? And they're like, oh no, we only carry 4-foot or 8, whatever. Well, luckily somebody ordered it. I think I took it off their bin. Like, it was ordered for a special job, and I'm in the back room, like shoving it up. I'm like, I need this. This is mine. And it's scanned for whatever reason. When I got up, I'm taking it off a skid that's wrapped, and I used it. It's embarrassing. I used it for a torsion tube because I didn't want to travel back to the shop because it was too far away. And I was like helping this lady out. Let's just say it worked. I don't know if it's still working, but it worked. So anyways, I can't find that little clip. And I mean, I'm looking over the table. I'm being really organized. I'm thinking, my gosh, where is this? I'm opening the box back up. I mean, I'm like sniffing, I'm licking, I'm looking. I'm like, it's not here. Imagine, try calling your wife about that and explain that to her. Huh? What? Like, I need this, and you can't like find it in the book, to like explain it. And then where are you going to find it? Well, you're going to have to open up another box, now you're compromising another job that if you open up another box at the shop, right? Or they bring it to you, because now you got to reorder this come Monday, whatever. I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh. And so nobody had it. Somehow, after all the phone calls, I got her already in the mix of finding it for me or getting me another one that's really not working. I find the darn thing. Somehow it fell off the table. It's up against the leg or something. It's hidden. I mean, that's just the real life stuff of this. That I want you guys to understand, that you're like, Uncle Dave says some stuff, and maybe I should just kind of think about this a little bit. I'll tell you, like, if you think about it, like, when you're in this business, it's always like, I need it now, I need it now, I need it now, I need it now, I need it now. Let's say you do a vending machine business. You think about it, right? Vending machines got a lot of moving parts too, right? And they're heavy, but you set it up, right? And it's kind of one of those things, you do a good job, you get money out of the machine, right? You take good care of it, you maintain it, you keep your machines up and running. Garage door, you boom, you do it once. That's it. That's it. You know, you might see them another 10, 15 years. They might say some good stuff to you, they might not. Vending machine, though, more likely somebody's going to want a candy bar or a pop, whatever, and it's generating. You know what I'm saying? So there's things I want you to think about, you know, in the business. Like, how do I say this? Let's say you do dumpsters. You think about it, right? There's a lot of things like you don't have to be so perfect about it. Let's say you drop off a dumpster. Let's say you do garbage service, right? They throw their garbage in, they pay you, dumpster, whatever it is. You get paid, right? We're dropping this off. If you don't pay, we leave. But see, you already are kind of like, maybe you got 50% down, right? Which is the way you should. But now you have to hope that this product isn't damaged. You're depending on, I mean, think about how many times, you know, that garage door gets manufactured to manufacturer. It gets put onto a truck. It goes to another warehouse. It gets off the truck into the warehouse, gets tagged, stickered, whatever, verified it's there. Gets shuffled around in the warehouse. It gets put onto another truck to get brought to your building. Then you take it off the truck. It gets put into your building. Hopefully nothing happens. You have to take that door. Now you have to literally put it on your truck to take it up to the customer, which is hoping that there's no banging, no dinging, no, you know, whatever. You get where I'm getting at? Like there's so many, you know, and then you get to the job and it's like you have nobody to blame but you because you get there, and I've had this happen. Wayne Dalton was notorious for it at one time. They weren't sending the flag brackets. That went on the, what would that be, the horizontals? They weren't sending that piece. Now there is ways to get around it. You use a piece of angle. But is it cool? No. Is it like panic attack? Yeah. Does it look quite right? Not really. Customer could call you out. You know what I mean? Like there's all these things that are going through your head. Like, oh my gosh, are they gonna, you know, it just, there's so many. I'll tell you one, don't let me forget. Say, tell me about the cardboard, the wet cardboard, if I go through these notes and I get sidetracked. But covers are always something loose. The remotes feel cheap. Yes, no, but I have a college degree. Ooh, got a college degree. AB stores. That's why I ended up with nuts and bolts filled with dead GDO parts. Yeah, 9-1 cases. Yeah. So here's something. We're doing a job. I think it was like I wanted to get this job knocked out because we got payroll, because we got bills, because we want to go somewhere in life, I guess, you know. And I remember I ended up convincing one of the guys on like a Friday, of course, right? On a Friday, it's always like a Friday. And I'm like, and the garage doors, which this is my fault, right? Is it my fault or is it not my fault? You let me know. So they ended up, the garage doors got outside. It rained. The cardboard's soaked, right? And I remember I got this guy. I'm like, hey, come on, man, let's just go knock this door out. It's, you know, it's about an hour away. Too far, right? Doing it through Lowe's, that type of gig. And he's like, all right, fine, let's just get this thing, you know. So I'm like, all right, sweet. You know, we got Ford Rangers we got a whole customized rack on the top. So we load that puppy up there, right? And like I said, the cardboard, everything's sopping wet. You know, it rained. Unfortunately, we didn't get it tarped. We go booking up there, right? Now, mind you, I don't want to keep him any longer than he needs to because he wants to go home, right? It's Friday. To me, it's just another day because I'm going to work Saturday. I'm going to work Sunday. You know, it's just another day. But I want to get him. I want to respect his time, you know. So I'm fired up. I'm running up there, right? And I realized the van or the Ranger had a little bit of a shimmy to it, you know. And I'm watching, like I can watch the front rack, and it's got a little, you know, nothing. Man, the thing's got a bad tire or something in it. Maybe it needs new tires. Got a bad belt. We get up to the job. Oh boy, we went back, you know, just barreling down this 2-track, you know, not bad. It's just 2-track. We get down there, and I remember old boy there, real cool dude. He's like, hey, the garage is right there. Go ahead, help yourself, and I'm going to be cutting the grass. All right, sounds good. You guys need anything, just let me know. Real nice guy. Every time, for some reason, I don't know what it is. When we go north, we get nice people. We go south from here, it seems like, a little farther south than, I don't know, 45 minutes or so. People get rude. I don't know what it is. At least here in Michigan. So we get up there, we start stacking the door, man. We busted out the other door. We already, we're flinging the other door, just chucking it right. We're good. Everything looks good. It's standard track. We're good. Start stacking the door. One guy's building, one's tearing out, whatever. I look over the top of the panel, right? I look down it just to check it out, see if there's any dings, see if there's anything I got to be aware of, right? I look over the top of that panel, and it looked like sandpaper went all over this thing. All over the front of this garage door. Like any little high spot, sandpaper. And I'm like, oh no, this can't be happening. I'm like, I'm just like, I look at him, what's the problem? I said, come outside, look. He goes out the man door, he's looking, holy crap, that looks like poop. And I'm like, and the guy's out there just on his lawnmower. I'm like, I can't believe this old boy hasn't drove up on his lawnmower and goes, what the hell's wrong with that garage door? You know what I mean? And I'm like, what do we do? What do we do? We're here. We drove here. The door's the way it is. We already crumbled his other door. Like, we're not stacking his old door back up. We're screwed. In my mind, we're building, and I'm like in that panic mode. I'm like, just keep building. Just keep building. I got to go over here and I got to do something. I got to smoke a cigarette, drink some alcohol, smoke some. Where's my paper bag? And I'm thinking about it. And I go, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm like, well, it is what it is. I mean, we're just going to leave this door. We're going to have to come back. We're going to have to change out door sections. We're going to have to, there's not enough touch paint in the world to touch this puppy up. Like, you need full 2 cans of spray paint to make this puppy even close to making right. So finally the guy comes up. He still don't notice. Comes in like the man door or whatever. Hey guys, how's it going? Guys doing good? Sorry, Mr. Customer. I'm so sorry. You're a really nice guy. Your door's all screwed up. He's like, huh? And I'm like, let's go outside. He's looking at it. He goes, wow. He goes, that don't look good. And I'm like, I know. It don't. And I'm like, well, we got 2 options here. And I took this 100% on my own because I was already thinking in my head. I already knew it was going to cost me X amount of dollars to come back up here and change these out. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's just too far. And what if what if it doesn't work out? I said, either we got 2 options. I said, I can take $60. I think it was around 60. I said, I can take $60 off. And I knew the vendor would send me whatever I needed free. And I said, I can take $60 off. And I said, I can send you the paint and you can paint this. Or I said, I can get you all new garage door sections. And he's sitting there, and I'm thinking he's going to say, I want new garage door sections. And I don't blame him. I get it. And he goes, $60? I'm like, $60. Is that not enough? I'm thinking in my head, and $60. Well, that's quite a bit of money. Is it? And he goes, yeah, he goes, I'll do that. And I pulled out my wallet. I was like, here you go. There's not enough, but here you go. Here you go. And that paint will be on its way. And I remember it turned into a little bit of a fiasco because we get done. I'm like, dodged a bullet. You know what I mean? And he ends up, we leave, and I told him, I said, hey, I'll get them sent up to you as soon as I can. So, it's the weekend or whatever. It's on a Friday. I call it Monday. I told the vendor. The vendor was actually pretty nice. Wayne Dalton actually, I think, hooked me up. They actually, I think they sent me some money, honestly. Or they sent me some more paint because something. They made it right, though. They were like, hey, look, you doing that saved us all these door sections. So we appreciate that. And I was like, that's very nice of you. And that was very nice of them. Anyways, they send me the paint, right? I'm like, send me paint and send me like 2 bottles, send me 2 cans of spray paint and send me 2 bottles of like touch-up. Like, I need this guy to have everything he could ever want and need because, and of course, what happens? because he lives down back of a 2-track. I send it up there. Didn't even think nothing of it. Maybe a week or something goes by. The guy calls. Hey, thought you were going to send some paint. What? You didn't get it? No. Son of a. And so I'm like, all right. Well. So I call my vendor, or maybe I had it, and I said, all right, I send another care package up there. Guy calls back, another 2 weeks. Hey, never got it. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, I'm getting to the point my vendor's not going to send me no more paint. They're going to tell me we got to charge you or whatever. So I ended up, I'm not going back up that way. So I literally have to ask my mom and my stepdad. I said, they're going to the casino, and it's up that way. I'm like, hey, you're going up there? I'm like, hey, will you take this? And here's the address. No, unfortunately, we didn't really have the smartphones going that big then, so I probably didn't take any pictures. But I wish I would have had a picture, so I could have said, make sure the garage door looks like this. It looks like it's all sandpapered, like no paint on it. But I didn't. And so, but they got it to him. And I'm like, make sure it's him, make sure he acknowledges, make sure you shake his hand, whatever. They finally made it happen. But can you see the manifesto of problems into this? I mean, it's just, there's just so many variables. So many variables. I had another one, same thing. I drove even farther yet than this place. This one I got with touch-up paint. Some of you guys maybe dealt with these and some of you haven't. I don't know if they do them so much hardly anymore. Commercially do. Instead of having they call it shiplap. There's shiplap and then there's tongue and groove. Tongue and groove is always the way you want to go with garage doors. Shiplap can screw you because with shiplap, the door can fall out if the section or the door jamb is bigger than what it needs to be. Point in case here. I go up to this customer, I'm stacking the door. It's one of those, I'm too far away. The job's not going good. It's a late day. I'm already, just going as fast as I can. I remember I stacked that second panel. That second panel fell off, fell right off right outside the door jamb because the door jamb was too big. It fell right off and it smashed and did something. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It literally put a scratch on the panel. And I'm like, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this right now. Like, for me to come up here in my time, I'm not going to make any money. And I think I got some touch-up paint, maybe, and it was kind of like, they lived kind of out in the woods. So it was kind of like, I think I was taking out an old fiberglass door, if you guys ever seen those where they let the light through. But man, I tell you what, talk about stress load. And that's the reason why I'm always telling you guys, don't travel, because all it takes is for you to lose a panel or something doesn't go right. And now you got to come back. Now you got to come back. Now you got to make it right because you are a man of your word and you got to make it right. And you're going to probably lose money. You go, well, that's not right. I'm not going to lose money. It happens. It happens because sometimes they're not going to pay you, and some places do, some places don't. Most of them don't. They're not going to pay you. They'll send you a section for free. You get a free section, but if you try to send a bill in and say, hey, you guys sent me a bad panel, so now it's going to be $200. And if you start doing that, they're going to also start saying, well, we want pictures, we want validation, we want you to open up the packages when we drop them off to you. You have to sign off that there's no damage of any sort. So it just, the things they can go on and on and on. And that's why I just try to, nuts and bolts, yep. It's a Holland thing. Yeah, I love you are like, so we did this one, right? Now this one was not on me. We're up on Lake Michigan, kind of a cool place. We're like, there's like a road, we're on the other side of the road, but we can see the lake. It's a beautiful spot. And I don't remember why, but we got up there and I think I was with a guy and he goes, you sure you don't want to, his famous words are always punt. He goes, you sure you don't want to punt this job? And I'm like, nah, it's a couple little 9x7 doors, man. We got this, like simple job, non-insulated. So what? It's brick, it's block. It was block building. And I was like, so we're gonna have to put up some wood bucks. No big deal, right? I tell you, this is what happened. So we go up there, right? Measure it, whatever. We already got the detail in there. We ordered the doors. This was when I became a really, really big person on packaging because we go up there and Wayne Dalton, if you ever dealt with Wayne Dalton, when they come to these smaller doors, I think they go up to almost like 10 foot tall or something. They'll put all the sections together, all the sections, not insulated, because it's like in what I've heard rumors is they say, you know, pan doors are, basically budget doors. I take that as an insult because this is the way I look at it. If my mom goes to the dealership and she buys, the only thing I can come up with right now is let's say a Chevy Spark, right? We know that's a cheaper vehicle, right? It's not going to be as expensive as a Cadillac Escalade, right? We know that, right? But if you still buy a Chevy Spark for whatever they are, 30,000, 40,000, you expect it to the paint to look like decent, right? Not have a big gouge in it, not be all blemishes on it, right? You expect that. It's a new car. And even though that car might not be the most expensive car, that's what you can afford, right? And you take pride in what you have. And you're excited because this is the first brand new car you've ever owned. Well, I never liked that with supposedly these are the budget doors. These, I don't like that. So we don't take care of packaging. You know what I mean? Because when you're there's nothing worse when sweat's coming down your face and you got to look at the customer and they go, what the heck? Why is there a dent in it? Why does it look like there's been sandpaper rubbed all over it? And there's nothing worse. They paid money for this. I mean, there's certain expectations, they're not going to know about the rollers that are silent glide, not rollers. They're silent glide. They don't have no rollers. They're not going to know that stuff. They're not going to really know the torque master difference till it breaks. They don't know that stuff. They don't know that you didn't put a strut on it in the middle if it's a bigger door. They don't know that stuff. But when it comes to the finish of a garage door, the back and the front's obviously way more important. Those are pretty important. So anyways, Wayne Dalton, they package these things, right? All in one bundle, right? Not like two sections, face to face with a nice, cardboard or whatever. It's a whole bundle with the plastic band around it. And what's it do in the truck? What's it do every time somebody picks it up? And they put this foam in there that is horrendous. I would not even sleep on this foam. It's so rough. If you take it against your skin, you're like, man, this stuff's like sandpaper. And guess what it is? It's sandpaper. So every time the driver, your employees, the people it's just every time you pick up the section, one side, the whole package shifts. So we take this up there and didn't even think nothing about it. We get them delivered, come off the truck. Oh, geez, they're all bulky, heavy. We go up there. We install. I start doing the peak, right? You start getting a section, you're kind of feeling good. All these customers, man, they pull in right now. It's going to look beautiful. You do the glance. Son of, God darn, it's all sandpaper looking. I mean, there's marks on it. You know what I mean? So the customers, this is like a vacation home. They're not there. I take pictures. I told them, I said, the door's got some flaws in it. I got to make it right. And I do. That's just the kind of person I am. I got to make it right. I wouldn't live with this. And you pull up every time in your driveway and you're looking like, dude, I can see galvanization. The paint's worn off. So I send it to the vendor, right? The vendor, they act like, oh, okay, it kind of happens, But do they do a corrective solution to it? Does it go to research and development to say, look, I think we need to figure out a different way to No, they just send you more sections. And they want you to send the old ones back. And you think to yourself, well, they're going to send the old ones back and they're going to send it to research and development and they're going to make it right. We won't see this anymore. But then when you start doing this for years and years and years and decades and centuries, it starts and it doesn't change. They just keep so now you got to find a different vendor, right? You got to find a different way. So now you got to be this vendor I can order this vendor I can order this vendor I can do this, but I can't do this one because this one screws this up. They'll screw that. So you order this stuff. So now the second time comes in, right? I was in a rush, whatever. I figured it was right. I don't know. I was still young. I was still green. I go up there. We stack them again, right? We change out. And like I said, we're kind of far away. They had the same problem. And I should have known that. I don't know why. I was being a dum-dum. They had the same problem. And I'm like, these have the same problem. So we send those ones back. The next ones come in. This ain't happening again. I tore them apart right in the parking lot at the shop, right? I tear them all apart. I put them on scissor lifts. I go buy more scissor lifts. whatever. I can find all the flaws in them. I got a can of spray paint. I'm fixing these. And then when I package them, I saran wrap them. I mean, I'm making sure they're perfect, all to take care of this customer. So you see how, like, if I would have punted that job because it was far away, and the guy mentioned to somebody, goes, man, we're going into, you want to put the wood bucks. I mean, there was something to it. And I was like, oh no, this is an easy job. This is an easy job. We got this. And see what it cost me? It cost me all the time, all the gas, all the time. That one thing you never think about, I never used to think about, is that when you're out doing warranty work, that's time that you're losing. That you could be out doing more work that's making money, that's being profitable. You're doing warranty work. So if you're going back all the time, you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're not making money. You're losing money. Because that day, let's say you spent the whole day doing warranty work. Well, that's not a day that you went out and made, did your $200, $400, $600, whatever, $1,000 for doing a door install. So the thing is, there's so many things that are out of your control that it's not even funny. And that's what I'm trying to explain, is like, it's getting worse because there's not people that take pride in the business. And for some reason, the garage door business has always been really laggy. And then the problem is, what I keep seeing is, I see these guys, they're coming out with new product, which is great, but you still haven't even fixed the old product. It's like the car business. You guys ever feel this way? Who else feels like this? Type 1 if you feel like, do you ever think about like how long we've been manufacturing cars and we still can't get this crap right? Ford was building cars for all these years, and they built some years that the spark plugs were spitting out. You know what I mean? How does a spark plug spit out of this thing? You know what I mean? And then it's like a few years later, they start building them so the spark plugs aren't spitting out. But you can't get the darn things out without breaking the spark plug off in the head. Are you serious? I mean, we got the best, we got the smartest, we got all these years of research, and it's like you just can't take the old stuff and then just marry it into new stuff a little bit, just a little bit. Let's not take big bites. Let's not go out and change, the V8 to the V6 turbo, and I get a lot of this is all emissions. I understand that the old government gets involved, but I look at it and I just go, are you serious? We don't even have that much standards in the garage door industry, in a sense, with openers and that. And for them to be like, oh, you'll love the ATSW. Will I? Will I really love the ATSW? Am I saying that right? The MT, or whatever it was. I can't remember. My brain's mush. But it's just, no. Give me the option. If anything, even fool me and just say, we're still going to make the ATS, the old version, but it's going to cost you another $20 or $40 or $50 more. And I'll be like, that's fine. I don't care. You know why? Because I have years with it. I have nothing but good luck with it. I know its quirks. I know its flaws. But you give me this new thing that hasn't been out, and now I'm the guinea pig. See how that works? Like, I'm the guinea pig, and I don't even have an option unless I go with a different vendor or whatever, you know what I mean? So there's just a whole list of things that, yeah, good products don't make. Yep, good products. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Always buying last generation of everything. Never. Yes, that's very true. Ben, you're so right with that. I learned that from an old guy one time. You know how when you're young, you kind of look at, you're like, what's this old guy going to teach me? And he always told me, he says, you always buy the last year of whatever manufacturer a car was made. And there's the truth to that. There really is, because sometimes they work out the bugs. Now you also can look back, and nowadays, all you guys have it made, because we have, well, I can't pick it up because I'm on it, but we got smartphones. We got smartphones, and you got all that research out there. You got YouTube, you got all these platforms, you got all those forums, all that Google power out there to research on something and go, has this had a lot of problems? Is this a good vehicle? And that is really the way. I've already considered it. With the guy that's running it, I sit here and I keep thinking, I go, man, we run those Chevys, and they were, I don't know if the new Chevys have come out. Like, I know the 1500s and that have came out with, what do they call it? Cylinder deactivation. And those are problems. You don't want those. You want to make sure you either bypass it or do whatever you got to do, but the oil not getting to them is causing cams and lifter failures and all that kind of stuff. So, ours don't have any of that deactivation. I don't know if they have with the newer ones. If they have, that scares me and makes me think I don't even want to get into some of the newer, but we almost are kind of forced to in a sense because, it's not just me. You have employees and they got to, you need vehicles that are going to run for them that's not leaving them on the side of the road stranded. So it's really tough, and it's like, do you want to switch over to, like Dodge Sprinter vans or something? Well, I don't know nothing about those ones, but I know if Chevy's made a change, and you don't know, they might have changed the rear ends in them or something that's goofy that you just don't know, and we've been lucky with what we've had, but I can tell you what's a real key factor is not, these vehicles are lasting a lot longer. And you know why they're lasting a lot longer? Because we're not traveling. That's the biggest thing. We're not traveling that far. We're staying local. We got a good customer base. We try to only go out maybe, 30 minutes away or so. But one thing I want to tell you too is, I should write it down before I forget. Let me write this down. Customer on distance. Okay, so read these real quick. Always buy in generation. Yes, 100%. So another thing I want to bring to your attention is that here's the thing. You guys, maybe maybe you don't know with some of this stuff how it goes on. We got a little bit of a problem in this industry. And that is the internet. What do you mean? Well, there's a lot of things that's changed since I started the business. And one being is there's a lot of key ninjas out there that would love to say a lot of bad things about you. And here's a thing to consider. We had a customer not too long ago, I heard through the grapevines, that ended up calling us. And I believe the secretary said something about, sir, we don't travel that far. And this is how this stuff works. It's really sad. And this guy decides to go on social media, onto basically Google, and he wants to write something saying that, oh, don't call these guys, they won't go any farther than 5 minutes away from their shop. And it's sad that you basically gotta almost lie to these customers. And so here's something to think about. A way to handle that probably would be, you'd have to tell them we're really busy right now. Either we're short-staffed or we're just so booked right now that we probably can't get to you for 2 to 3 weeks. And probably what that's going to do with the customer is that psychologically they're going to call somebody else. And you could always say you put them on the list. I don't really like doing that. I really don't. I'd rather just get them out of my life. Either we're gonna make something happen, or we're not going to make something happen. I don't want to spend hours a day calling people back and saying, hey, we're not busy today. We could call it. We're not there anymore. The phone is always ringing for us. We're so embedded into this community, and we're so lucky. We're so blessed. But I just thought, boy, how horrible is that for somebody to go on there? And mind you, this guy, he's probably about 45 minutes away. It's residential, and it's like, she's being honest with him, just saying, hey, we don't travel that far. And this guy's got the nerve to come on and be like, hey, put something bad. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to explain is, like, when I was first starting out the business, you never had that stuff. You never had that. So you always really have to watch what you're doing when you're talking to customers and you're saying and all this other kind of stuff, because even though you want to tell them the truth, say we don't travel that far, some of them can't comprehend that, and they think that's an insult, which is really a bummer. We had another one, this was quite a few years ago. We end up, the guy is communicating with us that he wants a 16x7 door.
we end up going back and forth. We get him a price. We put a lot of work into it, right? He wants a certain model. He wants a certain design, you know, back and forth, back and forth. Can you send us pictures? He's sending it to email, all this kind of stuff. And I remember we finally go out there to do a detail. We go out there, look at it, measure it, make sure, you know, 16 by 7 is going to fit in there. We get out there. The door is not a 16 by 7 that needs to go in there. It's an 18 by 7. Well, you guys are pretty smart. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's more money. So we come back, we say, hey, your door is bigger and you need a bigger, you know, the price is going to be whatever, $100, $200 more. I can't remember what it was at that time. I mean, this guy come unhinged. I mean, he was like, what? He's like, no, you guys quoted me. And it's like, dude, I don't know how to explain this to you. Like, go out there with a tape measure. It's not 16 by 7. I don't know if it wasn't like he lived there. It was almost like a warehouse that he was kind of revamping, you know, and maybe he was dealing with us because we were the cheapest. But now that we hit this threshold and we got everything all ironed out, he's ticked because our price matches up with competition or something, or he thinks we're trying to take advantage of him. But I don't know how you can think we're taking advantage of you, buddy. You know, if you need more concrete, it's going to cost more. You know, if you need more shingles on a roof, it's going to cost more. You want a bigger car, it's typically going to cost more, you know. And this guy just writes this horrible, you know, this place, you know, they're doing this, they're doing that. And it's like, you know, it's really sad that you got to go on there and you got to, you try to rebuttal, you know, and it is what it is. I don't look at it, you know, if you don't get a few haters, you know, you're probably not really in business. But it's just one of those things that can kind of get under your skin. And so I just want you guys to be mindful of this stuff, that if I'm going to get into this business, I'm going to make all this money, or I'm working for somebody and, you know, they're making all that, I like to be that owner that can tell you that I've done it all, most of it, and it's not that glorious. There's a lot of after hours. There's a lot of weekends. I'm looking at the board here, the guy that runs the shop here, and I see he's already trying to get stuff off his mind on the board of customers. I had to do the same thing because you get so bombarded. And then what's really crummy sometimes is you look at it and every phone call you get, you know, think about how your life is right now. Maybe you work at a shop or whatever, and you clock out and you go home, and you like going on the boat, or you like going to the cabin, or you like going hunting and fishing and all this kind of stuff. That stuff doesn't normally exist anymore, to be honest, because now it's always work. And for me, I slow down and I really methodically go through things, but that takes a lot of time. And if you just want to throw stuff in a vehicle and hope you got it and wing it and you can do that too. That's but there's just so much that goes behind the scenes. And then when you got to deal with a customer like that writes bad reviews, and now you either got to get yourself a secretary, you got to get your wife, girlfriend, it adds up. And so it's just sometimes not so pretty. And then when you got vendors that are giving you inferior products, that can add up. And then when you got the manufacturer of vehicles that are making inferior vehicles, that can add up. And then when you're trying to take care of vehicles, that can add. I mean, just the list can go on. Let's see here. If you're friendly with our installer companies, you're refer a customer to another company that is closer. Yeah. 24, yeah, Tony, 24/7, bud. 24/7, man. You're in the business, man. When you're in the business, this doesn't ever shut off. I even, heck, for me, I gotta take a sleeping pill at night just to slow down, because otherwise it's just, what am I gonna do? What do I do? Because you always feel like a failure, at least for me, anyways. You know, it's like how did I? Even this weekend didn't feel like 100% success. I didn't know, it was unforeseen. I didn't know that there was going to be somebody that used bubble gum with a wrapper to make a fuse work. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to just do a gooseneck and a keypad, and then it's like the chain, like I said, I didn't have to do that, but I want to do that because I want to go a little bit above and beyond. I want to make it right. That's just something. The opener was acting, I could hear it making weird noises. I oiled it. I did some preventative maintenance on it basically. And I kind of also did it because I'm hoping that because see, the thing is, what a lot of people don't understand, I'm the last one there. I'm the last one that touched it. So if something goes wrong, it's going to be, hey, you're over here during the weekend, and now the gate operator seems to be running a little funny, even though I didn't touch that, that part of it. I didn't touch the chain. The chain seems to be sagging. Really? It was sagging before. I was no part of that. It's just these things. It's like with the garage doors. Like I've had that one customer that's like, they're like, my garage door is making noise. We go back there and it's like, sir, it's your opener. We disconnect the opener. We roll the door up and down by hand, and he's just sitting there with his arms crossed. I mean, he just wants to fight, and he's, well, I read the instructions too, and I'm like, why did the last guy leave the instructions here? The strut says it's supposed to be in the middle. Well, who in the world wants strut right in the middle of your glass section? I mean, that's just common sense. You know what I mean? And so I just thought, some people just don't get it. I watched another guy, he was commenting on my extreme garage door opener, which I was like kind of young looking man. I thought, man, no facial hair, young looking. But, and I thought, he says, it works better if the strut's on the top. And I kept looking at the video and I kept thinking, yeah, why didn't I put the strut on the top? And I went, oh, but see how it's easy for people to jump in? Like I know why I didn't put the strut on the top, because I had to put the top brackets, and this guy probably has never installed a garage door in his life. I said, I had to put the top brackets at the very top to make it tip, because it was a rafter style garage, and I needed every bit I could to get that thing to tip fast to get out of the way. So I probably put those brackets, with the brackets being there, they wouldn't fit over the strut. So I moved the strut down just a little bit below the brackets, and he was like, and I was thinking, he's not getting the point. You know what I mean? Like, it's because it's because the customer decided that after I installed the door, which the door was installed, that he came behind us to save money, and he installed an extreme garage door opener. That was the problem. And so now I get a phone call that the cables are thrown off, probably because he was trying to set limits on it. It threw the cables off, and then he ran it again with the cables off that wrapped around the shaft, and which also put a lot of pressure on the panels, which damaged the top panel. And then he called me probably after he was done working on it over the weekend. You see what I'm getting at? Like, if he probably would have spent the money with us, we would have set the limits right. We would have used a little bit better product. Extreme garage door opener, hey, I don't have nothing against you. You know what I mean? You want to drive a Ford Focus? I have nothing against you. You know what I mean? I used to have a Ford Focus. They work. If you want to ride a horse in a buggy, I have nothing against you. If that works for you, good for you. I'm kind of jealous. I like the Amish. I think they're smarter than us. You know what I mean? They get chaperoned, where they pay somebody to drive them around in a truck and their trailers and all that. They ride around like Donald Trump. You know what I mean? I think that's pretty sweet. And they don't have to pay the insurance and the wear and tear. I mean, the last guy I had over at one of the rentals, the guy was Amish, and he was doing something, and his driver's like, yeah, he goes, I think I gotta buy 2 new batteries for the truck. And I'm thinking, oh, 2 new batteries, heck, that sounds expensive. 2 batteries are probably $200, so $400, $600. And I could smell the sulfur off them. I was literally outside, and I kept thinking, what is that smell? He goes, yeah, you smell that? I think the battery's bad. Well, now I got to go buy batteries. The Amish guy just pays you for whatever. He might even pay for it. Some of those guys buy their trucks, whatever. They're nice. So, but my point is that whatever works, man. You know what I mean? It's like Milwaukee, DeWalt, hey, man, does the job. Fly with it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, a lot of these things are really just, and that's in the business right now. I can't stress enough that you can't go out big right now. You know what I mean? Right now is the time to hold back, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and all it takes is that social media, or the mainstream media, let's just say, to say stuff, and things are going to crumble really fast in front of us. So right now it's like time to kind of hold on to your britches, prepare for winter, stack your wood, pack your food, and just kind of ride it out right now. Because remember, next year, like I said, it's going to be a lot of elections. It was already a bloodbath last time, a lot of mudslinging, and I'm sure it's going to be the same, or there's going to be a kung fu, sickness that comes through, or who knows? They gotta do something to rile us up. And right now with the supply chains, I've heard it through two? No, I've heard it through 3. One's a personal friend, and was saying, works at a body shop, saying, yeah, my boss is thinking he's losing his mind right now because he can't find parts. Really? I just watched on the local news, they're having a problem finding parts. You know what I mean? They had somebody at a car, it was supposed to take 3 weeks. I think it was a Honda, and they weren't even really part of the whole strike, but they can't find parts for it. And now it's 3 months. The rental company, or the insurance company, is not going to pay for the rental car anymore. I mean, It's getting goofy, man. I'm telling you, we got something. Something's going to pop the bubble. But anywho, I don't see any really more questions on here or anything. I super appreciate you guys, Tony and Rich and everybody else that was on here. Who was out on here? We got Jason, all you guys. I appreciate you, the questions and whatnot. It's been fun. I always get good entertainment. And I hope you guys, learn a thing or two from me and the stress and all that kind of stuff, because I want you to do better than me. I didn't have nobody to talk to. I never had somebody to mentor, and I just had to stick my nose in it and get it ground off and go, oh, and try to reattach it and just keep moving on. You know what I mean? It's just, biggest thing I could tell you is always just don't be afraid. I tell family members, I tell my kids, there's really, let's say besides God, you have nothing to fear but death. Don't be afraid to go ask that pretty girl out for a date. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You look like a dum-dum, because if you don't ask, you don't know. And there might be how many other people that have questions. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to go out there and put stuff on Facebook, whatever you want. There's so many free things now. Just the hardest thing is to make that phone ring, to actually every day just keep trying to do an inch at a time. And then one day you'll have all this. And then you'll be like, why'd I do this? But no, it's all good. I love the industry. It's good. But just don't be afraid to take chances. Remember, this is the strongest thing. This is the most powerful thing right here. And learn everything you can, no matter what business you're in. Learn the stuff, take it, pack the money away, invest the money, be smart with your money. Stay away from that stuff that messes with you. It's nothing but a waste. The drugs, the alcohol, the booze. I've seen a lot of guys, even in this business, that has had problems. Ben, I'll have to do that. Maybe I'll do that on the next one. We'll do that on the next one for hiring your first employee. What is the end? Yeah, those employees. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. Like I said, I have wonderful people that run the business. Wonderful people. But the employees are what, I mean, when I had like the 7 or 8 people, it's phenomenal just how much your brain goes, I don't want to do this. This is a lot of work, because I was just watching a guy. I'm going to take some pointers off his video so I can bring it into this. Now, I'll bring that up because I just kept thinking he's right. Every phone call you get is a problem. It's amazing how you're just like, are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious? I just stopped at a red light. My angle iron blew through the tube. It just smashed out the back of somebody's vehicle. Oh, my nephew thought it was funny. He goes, I thought about calling you while I was out this weekend, because he's a beginner driver. And he said, I was going to call you up and kind of frantic. And he's going to say, I was going to let you know I got into an accident, and I told him, I said, I probably wouldn't even flinched. I said, I've been through this so much now. I just kind of went, okay. I would probably first thing, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, but the van, oh well, it's a vehicle. We got insurance. It's just money. I can always make more money, but if you're not here, which is very true. Think about it like this. Think about the jet fighters. They got those ejection seats and that, right? Think about how much the government and stuff, Army and that, invest into those things, into those military people. Which, by the way, thank you guys. If you guys are military or vets or anything, we all appreciate your service, because we need you. But, you think about it, how valuable they are, because they're the ones that run it. They know how to make the decisions. They know how to flip the switches, right? That's why your brain is so powerful, and what you do with it is, with friends and family, and if you let your social media people that you're around, you need strong people. We need strong men. We do. We really do. The world is just falling apart. That's all I can say, man. It's really is, it's not looking good out there. But I'm going to get out of here. It's bedtime. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Take care. If you don't mind, hit the like button on your way out, or if you're watching this at another time. And, you know, like I told you, we get up to that 2K subscribers. I got that pow pow, if you know what I'm talking about, the nailer that we're going to be giving away. I got some creative ideas. But anywho, I'm out. I got to go kiss the kiddos, all that kind of stuff. Do the husband thing. You know what I mean? So see you. Have a good night.